This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of Two Bad Hombres is brought to you by The Athletic, premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Listeners of this podcast can save 30% off the first year of an annual subscription by going and visiting theathletic.com/DSP. That's theathletic.com/DSP to become a subscriber of a great Detroit sports website.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got.
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Hirschmann, alongside my usual sidekick and broadcast partner in fun. That is Doc. From Doc and Jock, John Charles McElroon. John, how are you doing?
Vito, welcome to the weekend. I'm finally recovered from your charity softball game. Holy cow. It took a week. For those that listened on Tigers Talk, what a great experience. To recap, you raised over $4,500 for Make-A-Wish Michigan. You're a great philanthropist. We're proud to have you here on the network. Hopefully, in the coming weeks, we can talk about your first experiences covering the Detroit Tigers. In the world of sports, holy cow, man, people are talking about Urban Meyer, Ohio State. And I know you wanted to kick off this week's podcast talking about the rare few that actually went to Ohio State to show support for Urban Meyer. And it rubbed you the wrong way. Why?
Well, because pretty much they're supporting Urban Meyer, and there's no support for this Zach Smith, former wide receivers coach at Ohio State, for his ex-wife, Courtney Smith. Nothing for her. I mean, how bad is that? Come on, it's about the victim. Let's make it about her and what she went through, the pain and suffering and toll and physical abuse from her ex-husband.
Now, you retweeted something on your Twitter page. You can follow Vito, the great reporter, host, producer here on the network, at Vito Jerome. What did you retweet?
It's from Molly McGrath of ESPN. She tweeted out, "This is embarrassing for Ohio State fans. Urban Meyer is not the victim here. Where's the rally in support of Courtney Smith and victims of domestic violence? That, in all caps, would be much more impactful. Hashtag bigger than football."
Now, for those that are new to the story, to recap, Urban Meyer is embroiled now in a controversy when he fired former wide receivers coach Zach Smith because he was asked about it. Obviously, people wanted to know, hey, why did you fire your wide receivers coach? And he said, you know, at Big Ten Media Days, he said, oh, who would make up such a story like this? And what's going on? And I'm not aware of any allegations of domestic violence. What are you guys talking about? And it was shown by former ESPN reporter Brett McMurphy that that there were some communications between Zach Smith's ex-wife and Urban Meyer's current wife. And people started putting two and two together, and they started to say, well, wait a minute, there could potentially be a cover-up here. So Urban Meyer is now coming out and trying to defend himself, and people were like, well, what did you know? When did you know it? Did you report it properly? Why did you have Zach Smith on when you potentially knew this? Why are you supporting somebody that could potentially be an abuser? And basically, those that support Urban Meyer, from my understanding, from what I've read, they believe that he got caught up in the middle, and that if he did report it, there were circumstances that you could say led him to not, take action. One, meaning if you fire somebody and there are no legal ramifications for it, meaning Zach Smith had, potentially abused his wife, but police reports were made, but Zach Smith was then never formally charged with it. So he was never found guilty. And in this country, you are innocent until proven guilty. So Urban Meyer knows that. He realizes if he fires Zach Smith inappropriately, Zach Smith could come back and not only sue Urban, he could sue the university. So because we're a litigious society, that also plays a part in it. But I do agree with those that say, look, once you realized what Zach Smith was doing way back in 2009, why is it that he's now a prominent member of your staff still? Maybe you could have promoted him to take some counseling. Maybe you could have distanced yourself from him, and you could have done it in a better way. Or at the very least, when you're asked about it, you say, look, Zach Smith has an internal personal matter that he's dealing with his family. It's really complicated. I can't get into it. I'll let Zach decide when he wants to share it. It involves some very serious allegations, but he's no longer part of the Ohio State family. And that's all you got to do is don't lie to the media. Now, some people will say, look, coaches lie all the time. But in this day and age, I don't think that you can actively lie to the media who are looking for the truth, especially with domestic violence. And so for those that do support Urban Meyer, I understand those that are against it, but those that did actually go out there, it wasn't really like a ton of people. And I don't think it represents Ohio State fans in large. And I do think the reaction has been fair in that people want an investigation. They want Ohio State to seek the truth. And I'll reserve my formal judgment on whether I think Urban Meyer deserves to be fired until I basically know the entire story. But I will agree with this. I think Urban Meyer can be criticized for not doing more. Maybe not in terms of the firing, but once your wife hears about it and maybe you come in contact with this news, you probably had to do a lot more than just sit on it and potentially just report it. In this day and age, you got to do just a little bit more than report it up the chain of command. And I do think that's why Urban Meyer, how it's going to shake out, I think he might be suspended. I don't think he'll get fired. I think he'll get suspended, and they'll rework what he has to do going forward. But I think what has to happen is organizations, universities have to have clear, concise policies, not just involving reporting. What else do these institutions do when they find out this information? Because I think what is coming out is people want more. And sometimes we can debate, does it involve firing? Does it involve counseling? But I do think more needs to be instituted when an allegation of domestic abuse comes in. More than just reporting needs to take place.
Well, then Urban Meyer talks with his wife all the time, right? They're married. They're a married couple. How about you and your wife? How often do you guys talk about personal matters, about stuff on the daily, right?
Oh, yeah. I would even peek at her phone just to see if she's looking up other guys, looking up Vito or anybody else on the phone.
On me, which I wouldn't blame her. Wouldn't blame her for that. But, I mean, on a serious note, back to this Urban Meyer situation with his wife. Okay, so if Courtney Smith is texting his wife with photos of her being beaten up by Zach Smith, her ex-husband, come on, Mrs. Meyer is talking to Urban Meyer, right? They're talking to each other about this matter. So Urban knew about it way long ago.
So why do these fans think Urban's a victim? Because they think he's caught in the middle?
What?
He's caught in the middle because of the fact he's been put in this position. Urban, you hired this guy, so it's
and you let him stay on your staff. He was at Florida. You let him walk on at Bowling Green. Long-standing loyalty to this Zach Smith, who was always trouble at Florida, trouble at Ohio State. Couldn't find himself out of trouble, always in trouble. And see, the thing is, Meyer had this long-standing loyalty to Zach Smith because Zach Smith is the grandson of legendary Ohio State headman Earl Bruce. Because of that, Urban Meyer, I believed, was loyal to this Zach Smith and kept him on his staff at Florida, at Ohio State, allowed him in the first place, once again, to retract my thoughts on what I had said, to walk on at Bowling Green originally when Urban Meyer was a head man at Bowling Green. So long lineage and long-time loyalty to this individual who didn't deserve his loyalty.
Do you think the reason that coaches don't do more is because of the legal factor? They wait to see that the police actually file charges and you're found guilty? Because I think that's what's going on, is that they're waiting for police to take action, and they always fall back on, well, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Zach Smith is not a domestic abuser, when the evidence kind of points to, if you really digged and asked the questions, you would say, well, yeah, he is.
There were photos of his ex-wife, Courtney Smith, of Zach Smith's ex-wife, Courtney, being beaten up with bruises on her body that she sent via text to Urban Meyer's wife. So there was evidence right there. Urban Meyer saw evidence from his wife. He knew about it. He waited on this. And you know what? Shame on him if he didn't report it to the higher-ups and do what he had to reporting it to the higher-ups. Shame on him if that is the case, that he didn't report it to Ohio State's, higher-ups, including the AD at OSU and Gene Smith. Because if he didn't, he was in the wrong. And part of a clause in his new contract with Ohio State is to report everything of this matter of domestic abuse and just issues created by his staff and his players when they're in the wrong, when they're in trouble, when they commit such an act of domestic abuse. Urban Meyer has to act on it and report it, and go through the right channels of communication. So if he doesn't go through the right channels of communication and report such news to his higher-ups at Ohio State University, then shame on him, and Urban Meyer could lose his job, and rightfully so.
Okay, before we get into talking to Jacob Hirschmann, friend of the podcast, finalist in the tournament. Oh, man, real tough. I watched at the gym the quarterfinals, semifinals. I was excited along the way. I felt invested because Jacob's been in here sharing his passion that close. But holy cow, I want to get a sense, too. I hope you ask him about this overseas team. Hasn't lost a game.
Overseas elite, 4 straight championships or something now? They're just running things in TBT, the basketball tournament.
The basketball tournament, Jacob, local guy, Fraser team, the Eberlein Drive. The hashtag Let's Drive was really cool. Eberlein Drive team was really awesome, and it was nice to see. So we'll talk to him. But I want to get your sense. Did you vote earlier this week?
I did not. In the primaries?
Yeah.
I did not.
Oh!
As much of a guy that votes. Well, I voted in the real elections in November, okay? I would be. I did for the presidential election. I will in November for these other elections locally. Okay,
Why didn't you vote?
I just didn't do the primaries. I guess I don't find it important enough, even though it is very important nowadays. It really is, because it does dictate and control what happens in Washington too. So it starts with the primaries. I didn't vote in the primaries. It's not me. I'm accountable for it. I made fun of you for not voting for the president of the U.S. of A. You should be voting for that at least, right? And now I guess I can't talk totally, but good God, I would think you would vote once in your life for the president. Are you going to do that once in your life? Maybe in the next election, vote actually this time around, Doc?
Well, Vito, I have to say that earlier this week, I continued to live up to the hype. I have not voted ever in my life. I was obviously podcasting with you all week. I was busy promoting my other businesses as well. I have not voted.
Always too busy. I always have the excuse and the cop-out.
Now, I will vote for president.
You vote for the first time.
Wait. If you want me to vote, real simple. If you want to, promote democracy, real simple. I have an hourly rate, and so it's going to take about an hour and a half of my time to go wait, be amongst the peeps, and get in there, figure out what button to push. I might not even do it properly. So if you compensate me for an hour and a half of my time here at the practice, what it's worth, cash. You give it to me in cash, I'll vote for the next president. I'll even let you tell me who to vote for. And that. So you can promote democracy and capitalism at the same time. You can buy my vote. No problem. I even vote against party lines if you give me
3 words in response to all that. No, thank you.
Okay, so then the answer...
Not happening.
The answer will be likely.
You'll never vote ever in your life.
You're
a 40-year-old man that hasn't voted yet and will never vote in your lifetime. You have a lot of life to live, man. At least another, 30, 40 years. Come on.
Maybe I'll do
one
it
time.
Once. We'll see. Because of the fact that, look, I work. I work from 9 to 5.
Other people work doing vote. Come on. Don't give me that excuse. You work more than me, but other people work as much as you and work more than you maybe. Come on. Work their 5 or 6 days a week. Come on, Doc.
Now, Vito, all kidding aside, let's thank another sponsor of this fine podcast, Podomatic. The reason we've been able to record 1,000 podcasts on this fine network is we've had a great host site, and our host site has been Podomatic. Why do we use them? Well, when we record podcasts, invite great guests like Jacob on, we have a great host site so that when we send out links, we send texts, tweets, people can just push the fine play button and hear the great audio. We wouldn't be able to grow this network. We wouldn't have been able to earn credentials if we didn't have a great host site. So if you're looking to start a brand new project, you're looking to start a brand new podcast, Vito, Adam, Shay, Gus, all the hosts here on the network, we're going to recommend one host site and one host site alone. Definitely check out Podomatic.com. All right, Vito, let's get Jacob on the line.
And now, joining us on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres for some fresh feedback on Fraser, Michigan-based Eberlein Drive's run to the championship game in TBT, the basketball tournament, is the GM of Eberlein Drive, in Jacob Hirschmann. Jake, glad to have you back on. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Like you said, crazy last few weeks, but it's been a lot of fun.
So you've been doing the media rounds. You're a media darling now. I like to throw around that phrase, but it's really applicable to you right now, Jake. And how has it been being asked tons of questions, doing the media rounds locally, nationally? What has that all been like for you?
It's honestly been awesome. It's something that we kind of hoped would happen year after year, especially the local support. But, now that this past year we finally won 5 games, made it to the final, like you said, the local support finally came, got written about in the Detroit News. Channel 4 did a couple stories online and on TV about us, talking to the Detroit Sports Podcast, which is always great.
There we go, baby.
Yeah, there you go. And then obviously even ESPN was covering it, so it was really cool. Still is to go back and look at all that stuff. Tough loss, but it's been so awesome.
So you guys are the lost cause of TBT, the basketball tournament back in 2014. That's how Luke Wynn of Sports Illustrated labeled it. And how surreal was it to make the run that you did after being really the laughingstock back in 2014 with Eberlein Drive when you guys first started playing in TBT to now when you make it all the way to the championship game?
Yeah, surreal is definitely the word I've been using over and over again. And, that's the best way to describe it, to think that, 4 or 5 years ago, we were the worst team in TBT by far, lost by 42. Me and my buddies were playing, to now have, 5 former NBA players to play in the championship for a chance at $2 million, live on ESPN. We beat Jimmer Fredette, went up against the 3-time defending champions. It was It was wild. I mean, super fun. I'm so glad I had the experience. We hope we'll be back, but, in a single elimination tournament, it's really tough.
And you're a big college hoops fan, and you got the chance to watch Jimmer Fredette dominate and make these tournament runs at BYU, make these long-distance three-pointers before Steph Curry, or, around the same time as Steph, and look like Steph at that level, and never had the NBA success, but still young enough to play if he wanted to get back in the league. And I know it's been a while, but then you face his Team Fredette in the semis. How cool was that? And to get that W at the end of that game, what did that mean to you and your team to get past Team Fredette?
I mean, obviously it was huge, semifinal, a lot on the line. And seeing Jimmer in person was both exciting and terrifying. We had a pretty good game plan against him. We held him to the least amount of points he had scored the whole tournament. Still scored 24, but, he had been averaging 32. And, there was a point in the fourth quarter where they tied it up, and it was basically all Jimmer going off. And he pulled up for a 30-footer to pull him within 2. And it was terrifying. There were like basically 95% BYU fans. It was basically a road game for us. But, the fact that we got the win, I was able to go back and watch the highlights and be like, wow, this was an awesome game going up against a player who in China, is averaging almost 40 points a game, is still an amazing player. Like you said, didn't stick in the league, but, awesome guy, said good game afterwards, really good guy. And, it was an awesome game and, obviously better because we won.
Jacob, great job, man. I got a chance to watch a couple of games from the gym. It was fun. I'm like, oh, that's Jacob. He's doing his thing. Take us through how you put together this team as the general manager. Like you said, 5 former NBA players. Who was on the roster, and how did you put this Eberlein Drive team, this special team, together?
Yeah, so me and Matt Mitchell, my buddy, who I've been doing it with for the past 4 years, we're kind of co-GMs working on it together. We brought back 2 guys from last year, Lou Amundsen, 10-year NBA vet, and Alex Kirk, who plays professionally in Japan now, but also had a little cup of coffee with the Cleveland Cavaliers. After that, we were kind of deciding who else we wanted. Picked up Jerome Randall, who was an all-tournament player, probably would have been the MVP if we would have won, all-time leading scorer in Cal history. Got his buddy, Osiris Eldridge, who plays in Turkey, great defender. Picked up Taylor Braun, who played on Team USA this past summer. And then, we kind of filled it out the rest of the way with some top-level NBA players. Donald Sloan, who played for the Nets, was huge for us throughout the first weekend and had a great Final Four and final. Jeremy Evans, obviously a dunk contest champion, was arguably our best player down the stretch. James Michael McAdoo had a double-double in a big Sweet 16 win for us and was very solid in the Final Four. It's been crazy. And then we also had Willie Reed, who played for the Clippers and most recently the Pistons. So, we really just reach out to these guys on social media or have, guys that we have on the team reach out to them personally and ask if they want to come play with us. And for whatever reason this year, all the pieces fell into place. In the Final Four, we finally got everybody to show up. And like you said, made the final. Couldn't beat the overseas elite, but what a ride.
Yeah, who's beating the overseas elite, right? Nobody can beat overseas elite. And what made it so tough playing them?
They are, they're literally the warriors of TBT, 4-time champs, have never lost, which is insane, but they're just so steady. They don't make mistakes. And with that team, it's really death by 1,000 cuts. They just go on these little runs, these 6-0 runs, these 7-0 runs. They don't go on these 20-0 runs. They never really blow teams out, but going into the fourth quarter, we had all the momentum. We were only down 2, and they started on the quarter on a 9-0 run in 1 minute. Literally, that's it. And they just stole an inbound pass, hit a 3, hit a layup. It was crazy. It happened so fast, and the game was basically over at that point. They never get rattled. And they've only got one guy with NBA experience, and DJ Kennedy, who played 2 games for the Cavs. They're a group of guys who've been through the fire. They've seen literally everything thrown at them possible, and they know how to handle it. They're not sure if they're going to come back next year, but if they do, I don't know how you could pick against them. The fact that they keep doing this is incredible.
And Eberlein Drive is for sure coming back, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Now that we made the Final Four next year, we get an automatic bid.
Awesome.
So we don't got to worry about fan voting, which is nice. We'll most likely be a top 2 seed, and we'll be in a lot better position to make a deep run again.
Well, I would love to see you bring back Jeremy Evans, too, the former slam dunk contest champion, as you already brought up, who's exhilarating and exciting, so exciting to watch. And he still has some NBA game, doesn't he? Oh, God, absolutely. He is incredible, especially on the defensive end and rebounding the ball. He's so long, so athletic. Great guy, too. He was huge for us down the stretch. He led our team in rebounds in the final. He's a guy we brought on in the Sweet 16, just had played with a couple of our guys in TBT last year. And, it just worked out great. He was a perfect fit, able to play the 3 through the 5.
And, we're hoping we bring him back next year. But as you said, you never know. He might be in the NBA. He's got that kind of talent.
Now, I'm definitely curious about the particulars of the structure of the TBT tournament. So obviously the winner gets $2 million. Your team, Eberlein Drive, gets nothing. You guys walk away with absolutely nothing from participating in this tournament?
Yeah, I mean, all we get is the jerseys on our back. That's it. It's tough, because you try not to think about the money too much. But, once you're playing for the final, you start thinking about what you're going to do with it. Like I said, our team splits $2 million. Everybody gets pretty much between $100,000 or $170,000, depending on if they're a player, coach, etc. And I was about to pay off a year of law school, and then in a heartbeat, it's gone. It's crazy.
Well, I was hoping you would pay us off too. Maybe there'd be a payout for the DSP network guys here, Doc and I.
I know Vito runs Miami. That's what I hear.
So yeah, I know you've heard that too.
Now, is there opportunity, like in the future, if you're going to be on ESPN, to put something on a jersey or nothing like that, or that's strictly prohibited? There's no opportunity to do some side hustling at all in this tournament?
We wish, but TBT is very restrictive about that. They were sponsored by Puma this year, so you could only wear Puma stuff on the sideline, aside from your shoes. You couldn't wear Nike shirts or Adidas shorts or anything like that. They were very restrictive about that. So, it's really winner take all. That's it. It's hard to even get sponsorship money.
So where does this experience for you, Jake, Jacob Hirschmann, the GM of Eberlein Drive from TBT, where does this experience this year, the tournament run to the championship game in TBT, rank for you among the best experiences in your lifetime?
I mean, honestly, it's right up there. It's my favorite thing to do every summer, and it's been my favorite thing even when we're losing. And the fact that we made it to the final, made it this far, like I said, I want to be an agent. I want to work with athletes, and to be able to do that every summer before I'm out in my professional career is huge. Make these connections. Like I said, the guys we get, most of them are high character guys, really good dudes, and to be able to, kind of pick their brains a little bit about their experiences, and then obviously, go through a tournament run with them is awesome. It's super fun. I love doing it, and like you said, we'll definitely be back.
Well, I know Miami U and South Beach are lovely, but how about L.A., going to the bright lights of L.A., Los Angeles, California one day, maybe representing or being attached to LeBron James? How about the empire that he's building there? And you're an opinionist. You've been on, Two Bad Hombres in the past, breaking down these NBA moves. And LeBron, I don't think we've talked since LeBron joined forces with the Lakers. Magic Johnson, Rob Pelinka, the L.A. Lakers. What do you think about that move and how it shakes up the rest of the NBA?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it was mostly a business decision by LeBron. He's working for life after basketball and working to do what's best for his kids. Obviously, he still loves Cleveland, just built a school there, doing a lot of great things. But, the Lakers always be better. I think they'll make the playoffs. But, a lot of their signings were a bit questionable, and I think they're really looking towards next year where they're going to get a Kawhi Leonard or a healthy Boogie Cousins or something like that. And, the Lakers, I don't think they'll challenge for a title this year, but if they can get a Leonard or a healthy Boogie or another big star like that in 2019, I think they'll be right up there with the Warriors and the Rockets.
So, Jake, what will it take to fly us out to the TBT, to the basketball tournament next year? Because we would love to be there, Doc and I. On the sideline, on the bench, I saw my man Joey Oster, your buddy from Eberlein Drive in Fraser, the real Eberlein Drive. He was there, joined forces with you, saw the semi, saw the championship game. How about some love for Doc and I and getting us out there?
Hey, I don't know if I can get you guys out there, but if we make it to the Sweet 16 next year again, I can get you guys credentials for sure. So that's something.
That'd be awesome. I would love to go there during the summer, man. I mean, what would be better than being there and representing the DSP network and being there to support you guys as well at Eberlein Drive?
Oh, yeah. TBT is great about that. They love any coverage. So if you guys were to come out, you guys would definitely be able to get in there, get in the press conferences, be sitting on press row, definitely.
Jacob, great job, man. It was awesome. What was it like? I'll leave you with this from my end. What was it like being interviewed on camera by ESPN? It was great to see. What was your mindset when you're like, okay, I'm getting asked questions? Did you feel like you were as confident as you could be answering questions from national television?
Yeah, I watched it back, and I think I did pretty well. My main thing was just try not to say try not to stutter. Just, give straight answers. It was obviously really cool. I got interviewed on ESPNU and on main ESPN during the final. I had all my buddies Snapchatting me videos. Obviously really cool, really awesome. Would have loved to win, but as we've been saying, the experience was amazing, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well,
except, maybe $2 million.
Yeah, I would trade it for that too. That big payday for Doc and I too. But I guarantee you one thing: Eberlein Drive will make the Sweet 16 in TBT next year, and Doc and I will be there as credentialed media members. We look forward to it, Jake. And thank you much for all the time this week on Two Bad Hombres.
Yep. No problem.
And, Doc, that was Jacob Hirschmann, the general manager of Eberlein Drive from Fraser, Michigan, a street in Fraser, Michigan, really close to our studios in Sterling Heights, Michigan. And we had the chance to talk about the Eberlein Drive run to the TBT, the basketball tournament championship game.
I like it.
Out of nowhere.
No money involved if you don't win.
No money because they didn't win at all. How about that? $2 million for Overseas Elite. They won it all. They've won 4 straight championships now in TBT. Eberlein Drive makes this great run and gets nothing out of it for making the championship game. How about that? Well, besides for the, obviously, the attention and recognition, and they've received a lot of that locally especially, too.
Yeah, away from the podcast, text Jacob and ask, does he want Overseas to come back to beat them if he does get a win? Because of the fact that I understand it's money, it's cold hard cash, but if they don't show up, would he be okay with the victory if he doesn't beat Overseas Elite? Because I think it'd be awesome to defeat the team that's been undefeated because, as they always say, to be the man, you have to beat the man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jacob would find it definitely rewarding to get his $175K if they were to defeat Overseas Elite. But that team, undefeated, holy cow, I think it's 26, 27-0, have never lost in the tournament TBT. Unbelievable, huh?
And really, he could have paid
elimination.
Could have paid for law school at Miami U. Think about it. He said $175K. Is that what he said? The exact money he would have received?
Around there, yeah.
Think about that. All that money. That can pay off law school, which is very pricey. You know he could use the money. As a young dude like myself, we don't have a lot of money right now. We're stuck in loan debt. We have so much of that to pay off for many years to come. And then for law school as well, on top of his other bills from college before at John Carroll when he went there. I mean, God, those bills, man, add up over time, too, as you know.
And Vito, if you're looking at career advancement, if Jacob is going to law school and he's going to head up being an agent, maybe you could, work your way up too and become like a manager and be
a
part
PR guy for over there, publicist for his law firm, make some money that way. And hey, we didn't get the payday from him winning it all on TBT this year, so hey, maybe there's that for me, an opportunity in the future. Now he's a smart student, dude. Anybody that goes to law school, right, in Miami Law School, in Miami U, that's really impressive as well. So you got to be really smart. Now, other smart dudes that I want to note right now on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres are Don Lemon and LeBron James. Both were called out by our president, Donald Trump.
Now, I don't know if you've heard, but LeBron James, when Laura Ingraham kind of came to him and said, look, shut up and dribble, he has taken that and he's releasing a documentary that's going to air on Showtime in 3 parts. And it's going to talk about...
And it's called Shut Up and Dribble really quick, too.
Yes, and I do think it's going to be revolutionary. I do think that athletes are taking more of a stand these days. They are recognizing that it's not as impactful, but you have to pick and choose what cause. It's really important because you realize there's a chance. You have to be on a certain level in order to become an activist. And I think that's why most athletes don't, because LeBron James is afforded that opportunity now. He's almost a billionaire. He has several sources of income. He has a following. And it's unfortunate that in this day and age, you almost have to be a really good player to become an activist, because what happens is average players get dismissed as, oh, why are you talking? You need to be back in the film room or get back in the weight room so you can be a better player. Guys that are top-end athletes have been more of activists. And I do think that what happened to Colin Kaepernick has limited other athletes from really speaking out, because they realize, look, there's a chance that by me speaking out on a national issue, it could take food off of my table, and some can't afford to do that. But I do think, though, if you got the top guy in one of the top sports, if you got LeBron James being an activist, you just hope that he takes it with seriousness, and you do realize that you have to have respect for him for stepping away and really taking a chance in terms of hurting his brand and things like that. Because when you start becoming an activist, you automatically start to lose some of your fans, and that goes against the rules of business, is that you want to have as many fans as humanly possible. And when you start being an activist, you're going to lose a couple fans, but LeBron James can afford to do that. I mean, he's opening schools in Cleveland. I think you and I both agree that if you're the president, attacking LeBron James, probably not the wisest thing to do, especially with the great work that he's doing. But when you enter into that arena, when you're being interviewed by Don Lemon, that's a guy that's not
fake news, CNN. Oh, my God. All CNN is fake news. Come on, man.
It's not fake news. Remember we said, you were saying it was biased before, right? News. It's not fake.
It's not.
It's news,
it's not
but
liberal. It's not leftist. It's real
biased.
news.
Biased.
It's news that Trump doesn't like, and that's why he calls it biased and fake. He calls it fake news, and he calls the media the enemy of the people. How bad is that? How volatile and divisive is that? It's led to violence. Calling the media enemy of the people. The media, you and I, we're not the enemy of the people, are we? And none of these bigger entities are as well, from CNN, from NBC News, from ABC News. They are not the enemy of the people. We are telling facts, the truth, real stories. Donald Trump is the one that is leading us on to believe lies. Okay, to believe fake news. What he is spewing most of the time is fake news, not factually based. So he's in the wrong, and he was in the wrong, I believe, for this very bad tweet. Vito's bad tweet of the week here on Two Bad Hombres comes down to this from Donald Trump, tweeted out from @RealDonaldTrump, August 3rd. He said LeBron James, by the way, LeBron, that's how you spell it, but the B in Bron is capitalized. He didn't do that. But LeBron James was just interviewed by the dumbest man on television, Don Lemon, from CNN. Then he said he made LeBron look smart, which isn't easy to do. Then he put, I like Mike.
Yeah,
how about that?
Right. And here's the best part is that our current president sometimes struggles with realizing that, just 5 years ago, he tweeted out to LeBron, said, oh, what a good guy, and da-da-da, he's a good athlete, that he does kind of swing a little bit with who's on his team. But it's all political. In the game of politics, Vito, you just have to appeal to your base. And so you recognize he's not appealing to LeBron or anybody that supports LeBron. He's just rallying the people that support Donald Trump. And that's what's going on. And I do sense that you're seeing it too. Have you seen Jim Acosta kind of going to these rallies and people are flicking off the media?
They're horrible to him.
That's wrong, too.
And that's not right. And that's started by Trump. He has labeled the media the enemy of the people. Once again, to bring up that phrase, it is true. It's applicable to circumstances and situations like what Jim Acosta faced at this rally that he went to cover for CNN. Donald Trump was speaking at it, and they're putting up middle fingers to Jim Acosta and calling him names, vulgar names, right? Of offensive nature. And you're doing this to a man who is doing his job for CNN and reporting news, reporting the facts. It is not fake news, not fake. It is not. It is factually based. He's reporting from an event, and that is his job that he is paid to do for CNN, which is a real entity, real news-based organization that reports facts.
You and I can tie this together from our topic earlier in this podcast. What's happening is when news is being reported that people don't want to hear, it's being called fake news.
Yes.
And here's the problem. I want to get your sense of how we can solve this and how we can be more intellectually honest and elevate our wisdom here across the country. Because what's happening is there are stories that people want to know about, like with the Lions. People want a little bit more information regarding Matt Patricia and what actually happened the night that there was allegations allegedly to have been made. People want more information, but unfortunately others say, it didn't result in any legal issues. It's a done deal. So the side that says, done deal, it's over, will then become severely angry at those that want more information. And what they do is they go, you know what? When I disagree with a topic or I disagree with the outcome of what a report says, I'm just going to label it as fake news. And I think that's a big challenge in that as a consumer myself, I want to know certain things, and the things I don't want to know about, I just don't click on. I don't label it fake news. Maybe I'll say, okay, it's maybe a little bit negative. I'll judge the article. Maybe it's a little bit biased, but I do think it's worthy of being put out there. But what's happening is, and it's really hard for journalists, and it's easier for opinionists like ourselves, is that we can give our opinions on different things, but when we're reporting, the problem is when information comes out that people don't like, you jeopardize losing a bunch of people, and the people that are against it are hostile. They come at you. They're, calling you fake news. They look up past things that you've done. They try to discredit you as a biased person. They discredit the organization you work for. They bring up bad things, and it's really tough because there's probably some things regarding Michigan State, the Lions, the Tigers that they don't want reported. And it goes back to that old quote that, journalism is printing things that others don't want printed. The rest is just PR. And I do think it's a big problem, and I don't know where to begin with it. I don't know where to go with it because I'm seeing it in that information that people don't want reported is being called fake news and dismissed.
Well, yeah, it's news that Trump doesn't like, that people don't like. It's fake news.
In general, everybody's doing it.
The opposition is fake news to you because CNN is reporting facts, news that you don't like, news that degrades your name, but you did it. Donald Trump, you did it. You've been there. You've done it. It's on you. The onus is on him now to repair his image, to do better. And when he's not doing better every single day that he lives and is still the president of the US of A, it really reflects poorly on the U.S., on us as average Joes, on the citizens of the US of A. Doesn't it?
But just to bring up that side of it, where the president is against, the media is that, okay, fine, you've brought up X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D of all the things I've done or said that you're not down with, or factually speaking. But is there anything that I've done that you could credit?
But it's
Nothing?
all overshadowed. It's all overshadowed, Doc.
CNN hasn't
and a
reported
24/7
anything.
news cycle. It's all overshadowed. No, they have commentators that are Republicans, that are
Yes.
Trump supporters, former campaign managers, activists, lobbyists. I mean, they have Trumpers, trust me, people that support his policies and cause and were part of his administration or part of his election campaign. So you know what, there is that side to arguments, too.
Okay.
CNN does feature these people, by the way.
Just now, as we're recording, James Woods has kind of infuriated journalists. Here's his tweet today. From his account, James Woods, the actor, at Real James Woods. Here's what he says, and I'll get your opinion, because Tony Paul and other reporters are just insidious. They're not happy. To call the mainstream press today, quote-unquote, fake news is missing the point. More insidiously, the press today is a weaponized propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. While my more liberal friends may enjoy the slavish devotion of lapdog journalists, in the long run, it hurts us all. So he's saying that, you know what, the left-wing press is a vocal point and an activist for the Democratic Party. What do you think?
Well, he's pretty much saying that the left-wing party, these journalists collectively are a propaganda machine for the Democratic Party, for Democrats. I don't believe in that. It's not true. It's not valid. That's false. And it's ludicrous. And it's going to rile up a lot of journalists to do their jobs, report the facts.
While my more liberal friends may enjoy the slavish devotion of lapdog journalists, in the long run, it hurts us all. So is he saying that, you know...
That journalists are devoted to liberals, to the liberal cause, the liberal slant, and promoting the Democratic Party and not the Republican Party, which isn't true, by the way. They're reporting the facts.
But here's the thing, though, Vito. Wouldn't you say, okay, look, and Fox News does the same thing. They're biased as well.
Oh, biased completely, more than CNN has ever been, by the way.
Wouldn't you say, though, media on certain ends has you know, some criticism to take in terms of maybe not presenting the entire picture of a story, the facts. There's a lot of opinions being bled into these stories. There's a lot of judgments being put into these stories. And there's a lot of, you know, the best way to put it, it's slanted toward a lot of negative things regarding Donald Trump and the presidency.
Because there are so many negative things to be said about the man that is the president of the U.S. of A. currently.
Okay, but then,
it is based upon that as well, by the way.
Okay, but then if CNN realizes, okay, you know what? When we report all these negative things, and it turns out that the more negative press that Donald Trump gets, for whatever reason it may be, and it may be a sign of the times, it may be the way the culture moves, where anybody that's, you know, being criticized becomes a legend. For whatever reason, for some segment of the population, the more negativity that's been thrown on the president, the more popular he gets.
But
Isn't
CNN
that crazy?
CNN is not trying to push an agenda to get him not reelected. Now, maybe in the back of their heads a little bit, they're thinking some of this news coverage could lead to that. But there is no agenda they're trying to push. I think so. I think you can say that literally, factually, that there is no true agenda they're trying to push to get him out of the White House. But now, it's just they're reporting the facts.
Now, wouldn't you say, though, if Don Lemon goes on the air and his opening line in one of his shows is, Donald Trump's a racist?
He thinks that. He's an opinionist. He's an opinionist like us. We could say that too. Is it totally true? Is it half true? You know what? If it's even half true, he has a right to say it. And in his role as a host of that show, Don Lemon Tonight, right? Mm-hmm. He has the right to say that, to form that opinion, and to articulate that opinion to the masses that view his show on a nightly basis on CNN.
Okay. I just disagree. I say that the news does, I think, and journalists do have some room to take criticism in that. I think that it's biased, it's slanted toward negative, it's not telling the whole picture. And I do think that people right now are distrustful of the media, and Donald Trump is inflaming it. We just got to figure out a way to have better civil discourse and to really get to the truth. And it's really hard because do you realize, Vito? I think obviously step one in doing this is things that are played out on Twitter, probably not the best way to gauge what real people are talking about. I think Twitter is just like the highlighted, like really inflamed, passionate side.
Oh, the hot takes.
Yeah.
The most hot parts. Yes. Yeah. Like interesting elements and elements that will swing a story, right? Will maybe move the needle. That's what I'm trying to say. Move the needle for a story and get more people to read the story, right? And get more traction for the story, more hits for it and the website that the story is from. I think that is the case with Twitter at times, at least, where it's the hottest part of the story, right? The most interesting elements are going to be tweeted out about.
Now,
yes.
Okay. You know, you and I can have a civil discourse with the remaining 5 minutes here. What do you think of the job the president's doing overall in your life and how it applies to you? Not the whole world, not his race relations, just how's life treating Vito with Donald Trump being president?
The economy was already fine. It was jump-started by Barack Obama. It was. Unemployment rate was as low when Barack Obama was the president. So Trump has benefited from Barack Obama. Barack Obama, he should be bowing down to, instead of criticizing and calling names left and right and saying that Barack Obama didn't do a good job. And Barack Obama did a hell of a job with the economy because it is where it is today because of Barack Obama, not because of Donald Trump.
Here's where somebody that would critique you would say, okay, this is a version of fake news. Now, all you would have to say in a different way is, since Donald Trump has come on, he has not done anything to hurt me negatively.
To harm the economy.
He's maintained the
but how
progress.
hard, it's almost like, think about this, so like with the Yankees, let's use a sports analogy. You could put you or
just
I,
did it.
You could use your eye as the manager of the Yankees. They have a lot of talent. The economy had a lot of talent per se.
But
it would take a lot to really mess up the economy. It would take a dumbass to mess up the economy, though.
But fans of Donald Trump will say, look what you did. I asked you specifically, how's the country been under Donald Trump? And you said, all credit to Barack Obama. Now, somebody who's a fan of Donald Trump is going to say, look, this is what the media does. John asked Vito about Donald Trump, and Vito responds with Barack Obama. Whereas I would say, since Donald Trump has been president, my life has improved. More money has come back. Yes, I've gotten better tax breaks as a small business owner. I've seen the growth of my business. I've seen more money come into my pocket. I'm paying a little bit less in taxes. Now, there are areas that are not as good as before, whereas I'm paying a little bit more in healthcare, but I'm supplementing that with tax deductions that it's basically I have cuts in one area that's helping pay for the other area. So it kind of evens out, but in the end, it works out to be just a little bit more money in my pocket under the current president. Now, do I pay attention to race relations? No. Do I pay attention to what he says
his
about
divisive speech?
Yeah. Do I pay attention to that? No.
Do you have morals? Do you have ethics? Because it comes down to that as well for a lot of people. Do these people that don't care about all this, they have morals and stuff too?
I say, is he doing the best that he can in terms of race relations? Probably not. But
hell no.
But in the end, I don't think that he has a chance anyway. He could come out and he could marry a black person, and I don't think
he would.
It would
for
be
the publicity stunt. He would do it.
That's what people
it
would
wouldn't
say.
even mean anything.
People
and
would
I
say
would.
it's a publicity
and the
stunt.
Trump supporters would think, oh, he really loves blacks now all of a sudden.
So
even
Donald
if he really
Trump doesn't care. He realizes, okay, I'm just going to erase that side of it.
He's erasing us from the population. How bad is that? You just said it yourself.
He's doing that.
You put the words in your own mouth. I didn't put the words in your mouth.
He's doing
you said it. Isn't that horrible? He's supposed to bring the nation together. As a president, you know who he is. Don't tell me that.
Wait,
right?
Vito.
As a president, he's not supposed to just appeal to his base. Do you think Barack Obama was just aiming to appeal to his base completely? No, it was about bringing the nation together. He wanted to get Republicans on his side. He wanted to have some unison.
Now
there is none of that right now.
Vito, he also realizes what's going on is that half the country doesn't like him and half the country does. His job is.
But shouldn't he have tried when he first got into the White House? When he first got into the White House to try to unite the nation, he should have tried.
No.
Now it's a lost cause because he's done it to himself. He's made his bed, has to sleep in it now.
I think in the landscape of what the president realizes is that if he talks to his friends and he talks to his advisors, he's like, look, pretty much you could do whatever you want. Make the economy strong, and whoever supports you, supports you. That's all he cares about from the business side. Donald Trump, and yes, you can definitely critique it, does not care about the social aspect, all this other stuff. He does not care, and he never will care. He cares about, look, he's going to come out there and say, the economy is this. This is my record. Now, does he about all the social issues? Maybe it's not an emphasis for him. And is it divisive? Yes. But he realizes that and goes, you know what? That's lost energy. That's a lost vote. That doesn't keep me in office. That doesn't help promote my agenda. So what he does, he says, I'm going to only focus on the 50% of people that are on my side. And he realized, and probably to the detriment of the country, he realized if I keep saying fake news, then my base gets thrilled and they like it. So he said, look, he's the one that's been responsible for a lot of people not liking news that's opposed to Donald Trump by saying fake news and using this language. He's responsible for it. But in the end, he realized, okay, if my job is to get reelected, I'm going to play to my base. And that's the strategy he's using. Now, would you and I use that strategy? Probably not. We probably look to be more
morals.
inclusive.
We have ethics. I don't think he does at times. And I think the president should have some morals and should have some ethics.
Mm-hmm. But the question is this: is my life better with Trump? My life is fine. It's been maintained. I got a little more money in my pocket. So
so it's good for you to have a guy that's aligned himself with Russia, protects and supports Vladimir Putin and Russia. You're fine with that.
Okay, but now,
he would rather support that than like the people that from the U.S.
The way I'll ask you, Vito, is
that looked at the election
all
meddling.
that being reported. How's that affected you? What does that got to do with you?
I haven't benefited, though, financially either, so I can't say that I've benefited you like you. And the thing is, we have to care about more than just that about our pocketbooks, I think, too. Now, the thing is, I know a lot of people, all they care about is their pocketbook at the end of the day, about how they've benefited from a tax cut or two.
Can I ask you
I know
this?
you have, like you said.
But I'll ask you this. How can Donald Trump help your pocketbook?
Well, it's more on me to go out and get some other job, maybe a full-time job, which I'm trying to do.
I'll say this. Hold on. Specifically, I'll say this. I've implored you to do one thing to help your cause. You haven't done it. So I've told you for now 16 months, you need to incorporate. Have you done that?
To make myself an LLC, right?
Yes. Have you
to
done
form
that?
a business, I haven't.
Okay.
But, okay, so I'm not trying to attribute that to Donald Trump. I wasn't attributing that to Donald Trump or to Barack Obama or to George Washington or Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
I'm not going to attribute that to any of them. I'm fully accountable for that.
Yeah,
that is a different story.
Yeah, Donald Trump, the way I'll ask you again, how has Russia meddling in the election affected you?
I think it's wrong, though. I still think it's wrong. I'm going to always hold that
That's your
principle
opinion.
and that sentiment. But you don't think that's wrong that he believes Vladimir Putin about the election meddling more than the people that actually have studied it in the U.S., that are responsible for studying it, the outcome of it, of what happened, and finding out who actually meddled in the election.
Well,
you're more confident that Russia is in the right than the people that investigated that and came to the conclusion that Russia meddled in the election. Isn't that a bad thing, meddling in the election of the USA, though? Don't you think that's wrong? Don't you have standards and hold the U.S. and the president to a higher moral ground?
Listen,
that's how I view it, though, too, at the end of the day.
100%.
He can benefit you with the pocketbook, but were you really suffering with Barack Obama, too?
Yeah, and
I can also throw that at these people that have said they've benefited. Were you suffering with Barack Obama?
Right, but here's the part. Here's the part maybe that nobody wants to talk about is why would Donald Trump align himself with Russia to align his own pocketbooks? If he realizes
no, because Russia has something on him, probably
maybe
the golden shower stuff. I mean, he did all that.
Maybe, but in the end,
that's what it comes down to. I think
I look at it and I say, okay. We're a democracy. In 4 years, if people are against it, they'll vote them out. But I'll say this: if the economy maintains, you know, like you said, it's okay. It's from Barack Obama. If he maintains it, I'm okay with it. All this other stuff is significantly less important to me than the economy.
Well,
For me, it's important. I don't care about all that other
you
stuff.
don't vote anyway. It doesn't matter. Your opinion, right?
I don't.
It's funny.
And I have to declare ignorance because I don't care and I'm not following it. Like you know way more than I do. I'm not paying attention. I don't watch the news. I focus on my businesses. That's
I know you
it.
do, and you make a lot of money.
And sports.
And more power to you. And sports.
Yes.
And sports are fun.
Yes.
And they get us away from the politics and all the divisiveness and ugliness. The thing is, though, it's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
It's a fabric of the nation. It is existing.
So right now with Russia, they're saying that it's pretty much factually known that they interfered.
And they interfered with the election, with the election results, and got Donald Trump in. That's why Donald Trump's going to protect Vladimir Putin, who's killed. He's murdered people.
So they're going to do it again, basically. And
probably, so Trump gets reelected. The sad thing is, I really believe right now, too, that Trump will get reelected.
Okay.
I think he will, myself.
Okay, well, let me give you more free advice.
Yes.
Definitely incorporate and start keeping receipts of everything that you do.
Receipts I need to do. And you know what? My uncle just brought that up as well because of my charity game just happening.
Yeah.
I've got like a couple of people that have brought that up to me.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just you.
Okay.
I know it is important. I give you credit for bringing that up in the past, too.
Okay, but in the end, I do think people need to respect journalists a little bit more.
Yes.
And I think journalists need to present the whole story instead of from sometimes a biased agenda.
And to a large extent, on this week's Two Bad Hombres, we'll agree to disagree, as we do a lot. But civil discourse, we have that right. We're not going to go punch each other now. We're not talking to each other
at the end of the show. Fist bump.
Yeah. See, we're fine.
We're friends. We're good.
Yes.
And hopefully from today you realize after this episode of Two Bad Hombres, thanks to Jacob Hirschmann, Vito will maybe take the step to incorporate so that he can take funds that he receives from us and use it as some write-offs and some ways to reduce his tax liability.
Tax deductible, right? I got to need more about that.
Oh, wait. So Vito's interested in saving on his taxes, so he wants to put less in the pie. So Vito doesn't care about the whole world. See, I care about the whole world. I love the whole world, but I
can't afford it. I can't. I'm not making a big income. You know that. Anyways.
Doc, Vito's like, Doc, you can pay, 30%.
Pay more.
I'll pay my 5%. I'll pay my 5% and be happy, and I'll complain about the world. And Doc, you keep working and paying more into the pot. Vito's like, I got to find a way to cut my taxes.
You don't like how that adds up, right? I know for you. I know what you're saying. But hey, everybody has an opinion, and there's something to everybody's argument, I think, too, right? You're an educated man. I'm an educated man. I think I am at least at 25 years young, as I like to say. For you at 39 years old, as I like to say. And we'll leave it at that, won't we?
Great discussion. I can't wait to hear the finished product, Vito. You can follow Vito on Twitter at Vito Jerome. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. What a fun discussion. Thanks again to Jacob Hirschmann. I always enjoy two Bad Hombres every single Saturday. Check out the photos from the game all over social media, all over our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
Chirco and Company charity softball game, over $4,000 raised so far. Adios, everybody.